Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NFL matches that is happening on Monday, September 25th, 2023. We will be providing our team, total, and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comment section below. Philadelphia Eagles versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Take the Buccaneers plus the points at home. Tampa Bay's preseason over-under for season wins was set at 8.5, but the team has gotten off to a hot start with 2 wins. They have beaten Minnesota and Chicago so far, and both of those teams are still looking for their first win of the season. The road gets tougher for Tampa. They are an underdog here against Philadelphia and must travel to the 2-0 Saints the following week. The Buccaneers have been playing smart football and limiting turnovers. After the last game, Coach Bowles said, "If you don't turn it over, you give yourself a chance to win." Baker Mayfield has found success in his new home in Tampa. Mayfield is completing 69.1% of his passes for 245 yards per game with a 3-0 TD/INT ratio. Rachaad White is the lead back. He has 34 carries through 2 games, and no other back has more than 13. White has 112 yards and a touchdown through 2 games. Mike Evans has been Tampa's best wideout for years and is staying true to form with 237 yards with 2 touchdowns and 5 receptions of 20 or more yards. Chris Godwin is a solid number 2 receiver. He has 10 catches for 109 yards this year. The Buccaneers defense has given up 17 points in back-to-back games. Linebacker Devin White and safety Ryan Neal lead the team in tackles with 14 each. Linebacker Joe Tyrann leads the team with 2 sacks, and defensive tackles Vita Vea has added another 1.5. Safety Christian Izien leads the Bucs with 2 interceptions. The Eagles haven't been winning by large margins due to their strong defensive line, but their secondary is struggling, especially considering that they have 3 players listed as questionable for the upcoming game. The advantage in this matchup seems to be in favor of the Buccaneers. Although Philadelphia's formidable defensive line may not have as much impact since the Buccaneers don't heavily rely on running the ball, and Baker is quite mobile. The Buccaneers are looking to utilize Evans and Godwin in their passing game, and they are likely to find success against Philadelphia's weakened defensive backfield. Given the Eagles' tendency to not win decisively this season, the Buccaneers should be able to keep the game close enough to cover the 5-point spread. Also take the over. The Eagles have started out 2-0, with both wins coming in 1-score games. They defeated the Patriots by 5 and the Vikings by 6. The Eagles have a strong running game and are able to control the ball and run the clock if they find themselves with a late lead. The game against the Vikings was not as close as the final score would indicate. They were up by 20 points in the third quarter and led by 13 with 2 minutes left before the Vikings scored a late touchdown. The Eagles are averaging 29.5 points and have had a balanced offense with 181.5 passing yards and 178.0 rushing yards per game. Quarterback Jalen Hurts is completing 71.4% of his passes for 181.5 yards per game with a 2-to-1 TD/INT ratio. DeAndre Swift has been their lead back. He has 178 yards on 29 carries with a touchdown so far. Hurts is always a running threat. He has 72 yards rushing and still utilizes the QB sneak on 3rd and 4th and short. Devonta Smith leads the team with 178 receiving yards on 11 catches. Star wideout A.J. Brown has expressed frustration with his role in the offense. He still has 11 catches and 108 yards on the year. The Eagles are allowing 24 points per game. The coaching staff rotates players in and out in an attempt to stay fresh and not let fatigue set in. 24 different Eagles have recorded a tackle through only 2 games. Safety Reed Blankenship and linebacker Zach Cunningham lead the way with 12 tackles apiece. Jordan Davis has been as good as advertised already. The 6 feet 6 inches, 336-pound rookie has 1.5 sacks on the season and eats up a lot of space in the defensive line. The Eagles have only one interception so far, recorded by cornerback Darius Slay. Did you see the injury reports listed above? The Eagles have 6 defensive starters or role players listed as questionable. The Buccaneers have 4 defensive players banged up. There is not a single offensive player for either team listed on the injury report for this game. The units of Hurt Smith-Brown and Mayfield Evans-Godwin will be effective at moving the ball and putting up points against banged-up defenses. Even if most of the questionable players play, they will not be at full strength and will be chasing skill position players all over the field. The Buccaneers have been surprisingly competent on offense, and the Eagles will still put up points on the road. Healthy offenses and limited defenses will lead to an over. Los Angeles Rams vs. Cincinnati Bengals. Go with Los Angeles to cover the spread. The Rams followed up their win over the Seahawks with a loss to the 49ers in their last game. They will try to bounce back from the loss with a win over the Bengals, which will give them their second win in their last 3 games and second straight road win. Los Angeles is averaging 26.5 points per game through 2 games. They are throwing for 315.5 yards and rushing for 90.5 yards per game. Matthew Stafford has completed 62.4% of his passes for 641 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Kyren Williams leads the team with 29 carries for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Puka Nacua leads the team with 25 catches for 266 yards. Los Angeles has played well defensively, giving up 21.5 points per game. They gave up 30 points in their last game and will have to do a better job if they want to get the win. The Bengals started the season with 2 losses and have struggled on offense, scoring less than 30 points in both games. Their usually strong passing game has performed poorly, averaging fewer than 150 passing yards per game, and their running game hasn't fared much better, with less than 80 rushing yards per game. With Burrow likely sidelined due to a calf injury, backup Jake Browning, who has only attempted 1 career pass, will step in. Facing a formidable pass defense allowing under 150 passing yards per game, the Bengals aren't expected to put up many points in this matchup. On the other hand, the Rams have split their first 2 games and have excelled on offense, boasting the league's 3rd best passing attack, averaging over 300 passing yards per game. While their ground game hasn't been a focal point, they should find success against the Bengals, who are giving up over 190 rushing yards per game. Despite the Bengals' solid performance against the pass in their first game, they struggled against Lamar Jackson in the last game and are up against a more potent passing offense this week. This suggests that the Bengals will likely have difficulty slowing down the Rams in this matchup. Also take the under. The Bengals are off to a poor start this season after losing their first 2 games. They were able to overcome a 0-2 start to the season last year and made it to the AFC Championship game, so they are hoping for a similar result this season, but they can't afford to fall too far behind their rivals and will try to put an end to their streak with a win on Monday. Cincinnati is averaging 13.5 points per game through 2 games. They are throwing for 141.5 yards and rushing for 70.5 yards per game. Joe Burrow has completed 57% of his passes for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Joe Mixon leads the team with 26 carries for 115 yards, while T. Higgins leads the team with 8 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cincinnati's defense hasn't been good, with the team giving up 25.5 points per game. They gave up 27 points in their last game and will have to do a better job if they want to win this game. The Rams are averaging 26.5 points per game through 2 games. They scored 30 points in their first road game and averaged 18 points per game in their last 3 games against the Bengals. They throw the ball well and will be able to move the ball against a defense that is giving up 25.5 points per game, so expect the Rams to be held under their average in this game. The Bengals are averaging 13.5 points per game through 2 games. They scored 24 points in their first home game and averaged 20.3 points per game in their last 3 games against the Rams. They haven't moved the ball well so far, and they're facing a defense that has done a good job defending the pass and run while holding opponents to 21.5 points per game, so don't expect the Bengals to score enough points to push the score over the total. The Bengals and Rams played under the total in their last 6 meetings.